The Winneba High Court has dismissed an application filed by the University of Education, Winneba, challenging the capacity of the former assemblyman to sue the university and whether the High Court at Winneba is competent to hear the case. The court ruled plaintiff Supi Kofi Kwaira has capacity to sue. Correspondent Richard Kojo-Nyakun, who was in court for Joy News on Monday, reports the High Court also ruled that the court itself is clothed with jurisdiction to hear the matter.
Supi Kofi Kwaira, a former assemblyman at Winneba, in May this year sued the University of Education and the Education Ministry for what he said was the unlawful extension of the school's governing council's tenure and accused the governing council of misappropriating the funds of the university after the expiration of their tenures in 2013 in his writ. During the last sitting of the Winneba High Court that led to the University of Education reopening the university after the school was alleged to have misconstrued the orders of the court by closing the university temporarily. Flowing from that, counsel for the defendant, that is the University of Education, Peter Zuenis, filed the following motions. One that challenged the capacity of the plaintiff, that is Supi Kofi Kwaira. According to the defense counsel, the plaintiff has no locus. The other that challenged the capacity of the court from hearing the matter. On this, the defendant believes that the court lacks jurisdiction. And the third one that borders on an application for joinder, a matter which the court is yet to rule on. At today's sitting, the court dismissed two of the motions and has set Wednesday to rule on the joinder application filed by the counsel for the defendants to allow the University of Education, Winneba branch of UTAG, to join the suit. Counsel for the plaintiff, Alex Kwamna Afenyo-Markin, spoke to the media after the hearing.
That the court has jurisdiction to hear the matters that we have brought. It is also clear that Supi Kwaira, as a citizen of Ghana, has a capacity to bring an action in the public interest and to see that the right things are done by state institutions. And then finally, the fact that the nature of the application, the court said yes. The mode that was chosen by him was right in law. I am only holding the brief of counsel for the matter, and I am expressing the joy of Supi in that respect. This action is not being brought to frustrate any individual or is not being brought in bad faith. It is being brought for the public good. And you would also understand that if somebody lives in a society where people depend on institutions like the university, it is important that they get to engage the university or stakeholders who have such functions to support the community. Winneba has been there in terms of socio-economic issues, the politics of Ghana, and it is important that its citizens benefit from institutions like the university. So we are all looking at the betterment of Winneba. We are all looking at the betterment of the university. We are all looking at the betterment of higher institutions such as the university to function and act within the confines of the law. There is no bad faith in here, and we expect that courageous and patriotic citizens like Supi Kofi Kwaira be celebrated.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Public Procurement Authority, Ejenim Boateng, says the authority is confident the electronic government procurement system to be rolled out shortly will minimize corrupt practices perpetrated during the procurement process. The PPA Monday demonstrated how the new system, touted as one to revolutionize procurement, works. Joy News' Joseph Akable what other program and our reports.
So we are talking all about e-procurement and how this will help government in its drive to address issues of corruption. And I'll be engaging the man who is the project manager for the group that is fronting this particular project. They are the ones developing the software for government. His name is a bit tricky, so he mentioned his name himself. Say, what's your name?
Angelo Hatsikiriakos from European Dynamics in Greece.
Now, if I'm to understand, you are developing this system for government. Tell us more about it.
Okay, so as per our presentation earlier, the system is software that we already have. We have implemented the same software in a number of governments in the African continent, as well as in Europe, in Asia and Indonesia, as well as in the Caribbean for the national government of Jamaica. So we have got extensive experience in the implementation of e-procurement systems for the purposes of government. Very, very different to e-procurement for private companies. Government procurement has got very specific requirements.
So in simple terms, does it mean that the system is entirely eliminating the manual aspect? It has to be electronic entirely. You don't need to meet anyone in physical during the entire procurement process?
That is very much the case, yes. The entire process runs electronically. It does not remove the need for humans in the process whatsoever. Evaluation of tenders still takes place. Procuring entity tender boards still review the results and make the decisions about the awards. But the ability to manipulate the process is significantly reduced because everything happens electronically. There's no need for intervention on a face-to-face basis during the procurement process.
Thank you very much, sir. So the CEO of PPA himself also had a go at what he thinks are the benefits that government will obtain once they roll out this project.
This project will help strengthen transparency of government procurement. It will increase compliance with procurement policies. It will provide public access to procurement information. We are expecting to have less opportunity for corruptive, collusive, fraudulent, and coercive practices under this system.
So you heard the CEO of the PPA outlining how this policy will be beneficial to government. Earlier in the year, the Vice President spoke about that. A technical advisor at his office represented him at this event, Dr. Gideon Boak, and will be picking his thoughts more on what the Office of the Presidency makes of this development. Doc, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Doc, first and foremost, earlier in the year, the Vice President talked about this project, how it is important. We've heard from the PPA. How crucial is it for the presidency?
Yeah, thank you very much. The Vice President actually made a surprise visit to the PPA early this year, and it was part of government measures to ensure that, one, the ease of doing business in Ghana goes to a level beyond what we have today. And so government has in place a lot of policies and measures that it wants to undertake to ensure that the overall business framework in this country gets to the level that businessmen and all other people appreciate. And so part of the process is the e-procurement stuff. Part of the process is the streamlining of the government system. Then part of the process is also the Registrar General's activities, the DVLA stuff, and then also the issues that have got to do with how addressing systems and the national identification system. And the Vice President is quite particular about this. Government believes that if you are able to streamline all these and push them to appreciable levels, it will enhance the business environment in this country.
So you heard Dr. Gideon Boak. He is a technical advisor of the Office of the Vice President, explaining what this project means for government. Reporting for Joy News, Joseph Akable.
Now, before the dust settles on the $15 billion grant acquired by Government of Ghana from the Chinese government, Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, Anthony Kabu, has revealed that part of the money will be used to construct a bridge across the Black Volta leading to Burkina Faso. He said the construction of the bridge, which will start from Dukbe in the Lora district, will boost commerce and trade between Ghana and Burkina Faso. Anthony Kabu made the announcement at the annual delegates conference of the New Patriotic Party at Lora.
The annual delegates conference of the New Patriotic Party in the Lora constituency of the Upper West region was held on the theme Consolidating Our Victory, the Story So Far. The conference brought together regional, constituency, polling station executives and supporters of the party. The Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, a member of Parliament for Lora constituency, Anthony Kabu, first debunked the assertion that he won the parliamentary seat because of the split between NDC candidate Bid Anwata Zeden and former MP Samson Abu, who also ran as an independent candidate in the election.
We have a task to consolidate. We have to increase our votes. We have to target our 15,000 votes we are talking about for the next election. Then the NDC will know their real size in this district. We are not going to do that because we believe that in 4 years, when we come and we go around and we talk to you, you will vote for us. Vote for us because of the projects, the programs, the infrastructure, the development, the empowerment, the jobs that we have brought to you. You will compare an MPP government in this district against an NDC government in this district.
He then laid bare his plans for the Laura constituency, including the construction of a bridge across the Black Water using part of the Chinese $15 billion grant.
We are hoping that the Deeper Bridge, which is an international bridge, which will help commerce, trading between Ghana and Burkina, will be considered by this government in the $100 million that has been acquired from China for the construction of bridges. We will make this request to the government, and it is my prayer that this bridge will be constructed under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, because he knows the importance of this bridge.
Important for joining news, Rafik Salam, Laura.
Still ahead on Joy News, President Akufo-Addo puts his presidency on the line in the fight against illegal mining as he calls the support of the country's traditional rulers.
I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. This is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along?
Stay tuned, we'll be back with that and more. Now, construction of a new tunnel underneath the Accra-Tema motorway to bring relief to motorists flying the critical route between East Legon and the Spintex Road should begin in the next few days. Upon completion in 10 months, commuters would no longer have to be stuck on either side of the current one-way tunnel as they wait for traffic to flow in the opposite direction. The project is expected to disrupt traffic on the Accra-Tema motorway as the tunnel is dug underneath it. Joy News' Matilda Vamega reports on what is being done to minimize the inconvenience.
The current tunnel beneath the Accra-Tema motorway was built decades ago when the communities it now connects, Spintex Road and East Legon, were largely uninhabited. The 3-meter wide tunnel was designed as a cattle route, never imagined to accommodate vehicles. The springing up of communities at both ends of the tunnel has, however, made it a critical route that helps motorists from either side connect without having to go through the often congested Tetekwashi interchange area. But with the tunnel able to accommodate only one vehicle at a time, motorists traveling in one direction have to wait until those coming from the opposite direction have to use it for a while.
The traffic situation sometimes is very, very serious, so something has to be done.
It's frustrating, it's annoying, and you just can't understand why. I think it's meant for cattle initially. People go through with bike, people walk through, and it's dangerous, and it's about time we did something about it.
Very terrible, very, very terrible. And it will be very good if the government is going to construct another tunnel for us.
Sometimes it's very terrible. So I don't know if they can do it, then it can help a lot.
The new 9 to 10 meters wide tunnel, which is expected to be completed in 10 months, will be some 20 meters away from the existing tunnel. Safety officer with the Ghana Highway Authority, Owusu Prempe, explains its construction should not in any way disrupt traffic flow at the existing tunnel, but rather inconvenience those on the Tema motorway.
And this one is not going to be like the old one, it's going to be a big one to have 2 vehicles at least negotiating at the same time. Those on the motorway, in fact, the main problem is going to be on the motorway because there will be some kind of excavations and other things. That's why we are trying to, construct a temporary road.
As a way of sensitizing motorists on the Accra-Tema motorway who are likely to be affected as they are redirected onto the median, the Ghana Highway Authority will begin mounting traffic and safety signs on the Accra-Bond section of the Tema motorway on Monday evening to warn motorists about the impending disruption to traffic. Owusu Prempe explains how the traffic will be managed for the duration of the project.
This light post you see there will be taken off, and we are going to construct a temporary road in the median. That is the middle. Let me use the local term, median. The middle, which is the median, is about 11 meters. What you see here is just about 7.3 meters. So the traffic will gradually shift into the median, and to allow the construction, to allow the excavation of this site to take off. So after that, after the excavation, this place will be restored back. And then the traffic from a Tema bound will also be shipped to the median so that there will be no traffic interruption.
Meanwhile, squatters, including plant breeders along that stretch, are expected to be evacuated once the earth-moving equipment to be used for the construction begin to move to site. Those to be affected say they expect government to make adequate arrangements for them.
Evacuation is not easy for us to move flowers from one place to another without spoiling it. It delays. The notice that they've given us is too short for us. Where we will live, since as a developmental project, we have to live by all means. But our worry is they've not given us anything in the form of evacuation package. Get this to move your things out of here. We are all citizens of Ghana, and this is a government land. At least get this to move your things out of here. Get this track to pack your things to a convenient place. We've invested a lot of money into this project, flowers that you see along this stretch.
Matilda Pumaga for Joy News, Accra.
Now, in a related development, the Ghana Highway Authority has clarified that the construction of a flyover that is going to connect the motorway to somewhere in the on Spintex Road is quite different from the construction that's going to be taking place, or the construction of the new tunnel that's going to be taking place. They insist that that flyover will still be constructed, and possibly that work has already begun on that one. So that is quite a separate job or project from the tunnel that we're looking at being constructed in the next few months. Now, the Ghana Armed Forces says public antagonism against the military threatens the peaceful coexistence of soldiers and civilians. Commander of the 4th Battalion Infantry, Lieutenant Colonel Sebastian Ahin, describes what he says is a growing trend as worrying. He was speaking at the induction of newly posted soldiers, a ceremony known as the steeplechase in Kumasi. Kwesi Debra reports.
Wait.
The event involves competition in full military activities among the young soldiers. They covered a total distance of 10 kilometers in a race from the command headquarters and bark.
It's almost at the base, followed by Private Sowa, almost at the base, over.
The first and two runners-up received special awards besides unit lanyard and logo of the infantry presented to all personnel. Lieutenant Colonel Ahin says the exercise is meant to inform the public of the Army's security alertness.
The people of the region, and by extension the whole country, is to demonstrate that we are around, the military is around, and we are not dormant, though we are not in anything active for now, except for our patrols and all that we can. But this is just to communicate to the civil populace, and importantly assure them that the military is always around to work with other security agencies in ensuring that there is safety and security in the region. So I've had situations where our soldiers go to town and then they have been attacked by civilians for most of the time for no good reason. And in the past, what happens is that the military will go into reprisal attacks. But what now we are doing is that we are educating them that even in a case like that, we should not take the law into our own hands, but we should ensure that we follow due process. As it is also, I want to use this opportunity to appeal to the civil populace that they should see the military as one of their own and continue to work hand in hand rather than being antagonistic to the military.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, manager of the late John Evans Atta Mills campaign in 2008, Rojo Metilnunu, says the intra-party transition from the Atta Mills-led government to the Mahama-led regime was poorly handled by the NDC. Though Rojo Metilnunu admits the need for old guards to make way for new leadership, he says scientific research results and knowledge from experienced party hands were rejected by the Mahama-led government, hence its defeat in the 2016 election. He has been speaking in an exclusive interview with Joy News' Gifty Andor Pierre.
We've got to give people opportunity to serve also. So if in your party the older generation still want to hold on to ministerial appointments, I think it will be asking for too much. There are so many ways in which you can serve in a government. We did a lot in our own way. I have a group of people who are extremely committed, and we carried out research. We did a 32,000 household survey across all the 10 regions of this country, identifying attitudes, behaviors, perceptions, and desires of the people of Ghana. We put the report together, and either the report
didn't find its way to the presidency?
No, it did, but you know, sometimes people want to hear what they want to hear. Okay. Yeah, if you think you're winning and somebody comes and says, wait a minute, you're losing.
That you actually sometimes perhaps become a target yourself.
Or if you want people who will sing his master's voice, you will not be heard.
Is that what happened in this case?
I believe strongly that our message, our research data was not accepted. It did not impact the strategy of the elections, and it was a disaster waiting to happen. If people who worked very closely with the late Professor Evans Atta Mills were very closely known by the party and Prof, and suddenly there was no Prof for a transition, and you have a new team, many people who were loyal to the party but were not known to the new team will be sidelined. We did not manage that transition very well. Okay. That, to me, was a major weakness of the party.
The campaign manager also chastised the NDC for neither correcting negative perceptions of the administration nor converting dirt on then-candidate Akufo-Addo into effective campaign messages. He is confident there are many flaws in the 6-month-old Akufo-Addo administration which could be exploited by the NDC, especially corruption.
People perceive that you are corrupt and you don't deal with that perception. It spreads. And all you need is somebody to just keep on echoing it, that you're corrupt, you're corrupt, you're corrupt, you're corrupt. Now, to present some other person as incorruptible, and you are not able to attack that perception. Why? As Attorney General, the current president came under several judgment debt issues that he couldn't manage.
But the NDC couldn't do much with that information.
That's what I'm saying. Even under 6 months of the current government, he said, there will be no corruption under my watch. 6 months down the road, we're seeing it happening. It's unfolding. I mean, I can understand the motivation of people to plow back money they invested after being in opposition for 8 years. But as custodians of governance, people must recognize that you're being given opportunities to serve, not to make back money you lost.
Well, the second part of this interview is on the Pulse on Tuesday. Still to come in the bulletin, staff of Pantan Psychiatric Hospital on a sit-down strike over encroachment of the hospital's lands, threatening to step up their action on Tuesday as they turn away patients on day one. Up next after the break, though, we'll bring you business news with Emmanuel Abagiriafi.
Hello, good evening to you. A pleasure to come your way again with business news. Government is expected to grant some waivers to manufacturing firms on the implementation of the 3% VAT flat rate scheme. This is what Joy Business has picked up for after a meeting between government and some manufacturing firms in the country on the tax system. The following Business Desk report has more.
Joy Business understands that the meeting, which happened last Friday, brought together some big manufacturing firms in the country and senior members of the Association of Ghana Industries to deliberate on their concerns about the tax. Sources say there have been some agreements in principle by government to still go ahead with the tax, whilst it works to review aspects that affect manufacturing firms and possibly wholesalers in the country. This should mean that the tax could be waived for distributors of goods produced in the country as well as large-scale importers. Joy Business is learning that the move by government has been influenced by concerns that implementing the tax in its current form could have some negative impact on the economy. However, sources say the whole tax would not be scrapped, but government is prepared to make some amendments to deal with concerns by local manufacturing firms and look at implementing it for retailers. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta last week indicated that government would not remove the tax because he sees nothing wrong with it. But the manufacturers have also maintained that implementing the tax in its current form would lead to job layoffs and some downsizing of operations as well as price increases of goods.
Now, the Bank of Ghana has for the first time approved an online payment platform by a bank. The online payment platform, also known as MyGHPay, was launched by Guarantee Trust Bank and is expected to support government's financial inclusion agenda. Sheila Tamaklo has been speaking with Managing Director of GT Bank, Lekan Sanusi, who is upbeat the initiative is timely for industry.
So currently at the Alisa Hotel, where the Guarantee Trust Bank, that's the GT Bank, has launched an online payments platform. That is the MyGHPay. Now, this particular platform can be described as the biggest online payments platform that allows businesses, organizations, as well as associations to sell and receive payments using your Visa cards, your mobile wallets, as well as your GH-Link cards. Now, this particular, online platform, the catch about it is that it's not just for Guarantee Trust Bank users, but then it's for all people who hold Visa cards, GH-Link cards, as well as mobile money wallet users. And the MD tells us that this initiative is very timely for the particular industry, that's the banking sector.
If you look at the fact that the lifestyle of all of us is changing, and to the extent that if we don't do it now, when should we do it? It's exceedingly timely also because the environment itself is changing. And banking has to actually wake up. There's this familiar saying which says, banking is a necessity, but are banks necessity or are banks needed? We have to find a way as banks to continue to make ourselves relevant. And if we don't do it, nobody else will do it for us as bankers. Banking as a business is under a lot of what you can say attack, particularly from people, those you call financial technology companies. And that is because they are seeing a need. They are seeing a gap in the society. So what we need to do as bank, which is what Guarantee Trust Bank has done now, is to also see that gap and try to see how that gap can be filled.
Now to some other stories. The Ghana National Association of Garages is unhappy about construction of permanent structures by spare parts dealers at the Swami Magazine Enclave in Kumasi. Leadership says increasing number of story buildings is denying members space for work. Ashanti Regional Chairman Nanose Ebunsu tells Love Business at the swearing-in of new executives the Artisan Center will collapse if such development continues.
The vast land leased to the Garages Association is occupied by about 200,000 auto artisans and related tradesmen and women. Makeshift and open-air workshops scattered across the area are now giving way to concrete structures. Nana Bonsu says the situation has led to repeated confrontation between the association and relatives of deceased members who undertake such development. He, however, indicates steps are being taken with government agencies to halt the encroachments.
There are a lot of encroachers. The spare parts dealers are building block buildings, which is killing the industry, which we don't accept. You see, the spare parts dealers are putting up block buildings. It is killing the industry, and for that reason, we, together with the association, together with Lands Commission, Survey Department, Town and Country Planning, are erecting a fixed boundary to indicate the Swam Magazine land so that we will be able to protect it.
Meanwhile, zonal leaders are committing to help the executives protect their land pending government intervention. None of us paid for the space we are using. There are no individual landowners. But when one of us dies, their relatives come here to claim the land. Land for we mechanics have become a problem, so we have to join efforts to get our lands back. We will have to alert our leadership of any building project so we can move in to stop them. Nana Yaujima reporting.
And back in Accra, the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, is hinting of another fuel contamination controversy at the National Refinery, TOR. This comes in the wake of sale of significant amounts of contaminated fuel by the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Bust to Movenpina and Zoop Oil. An 8-member committee is currently investigating Bust's controversial sale. In an interview with Joy News, Duncan Amwa said a similar situation with slop or fuel residue also exists at the Tema Oil Refinery.
We would want to see people not only named and shamed, but we want to see prosecutions so that for tomorrow, anybody intending to sell Ghana's oil cheap, downgrade or destroy the product and sell cheap will be forewarned, because there's a precedent where some engaged in that and were punished. Unfortunately, we are not seeing any of that today, and I can safely put on record that a similar cartel operates also in TOR, and that probably will be coming up in the next couple of days. It's the same situation where today we are talking of slop, we are talking of sludge, contaminated. Bust will sell, slop, sludge, TOR is selling, standard operating procedures. In fact, there's something we call procedure for disposal. If there's even a sludge or slop, there has to be a procedure for disposal that must be clearly captured by the company intending to do business with TOR or Bust. That must also be backed by an EPA certification or license that says we know this company has ABC facility to be able to hold and dispose of products to this tune. Unfortunately, that is not being used in the country because some people's interest would supersede what the regulations say. Standard disposal procedure is not even being adhered to today. And so we are discussing Bust, but TOR is also in the offing and will be discussed accordingly in the coming days.
Mano Abuaji Riafi. For more business news, log on to myjournonline.com/business. Have a good evening.
Now, it's been almost 4 months since government placed a ban on all forms of small-scale mining. This week on Joy News Agenda, our Western Regional correspondent Francis Waja speaks to some small-scale miners to assess whether the fight against galamsey is yielding any result. Here's his report.
Several water bodies such as River Pra, Ankobra, Tano, Bonsa, just to mention a few, have been polluted as a result of illegal mining. Beyond the pollution of these water bodies, the destruction to land and the degradation to forest have been massive. Wassa Ikropon in the northern part of the western region has been branded Shanghai City due to the presence of Chinese small-scale miners in the area.
On one side, you have the Association of Small-Scale Miners who have protested that the ban on small-scale mining proper has been an unlawful one, and that it has been unfair on those who have genuinely acquired their licenses with the view of actually doing their business, because mining is business anyway.
Almost 4 months after the ban on small-scale mining, Chief Executive Officer of Takrady Gold, David Anthony Nicholsey, who has been in mining for 30 years, tells Joy News more can be done to completely flush out illegal mining.
Now, with respect to the 4 months, yes, I would say about 80% of the illegal miners, for fear of what will happen to them, have actually ceased working. But there's still that 20% recalcitrant ones who are still doing the illegal mining. Even as yesterday, I received some information. There were 2 dredge boats on the Ankobra River still on the northern part, and another 2 or 3 on the southern side of the Ankobra River, which means there's so many people who are also doing that. Unfortunately, and with the greatest deal of respect to those who lost their lives recently in Pristia, the underground type of mining, if you will remember, the Deputy Minister was there together with the fire service and so on. And on the news, he said he wasn't aware that even this type of mining was actually happening in the country. Therefore, one sees that the ministry has lack of information.
He says the approach was wrong, but the ministry should rethink through a different approach to fight the menace.
Company bien timin to galamsey ase. Even our government nimpo timin to galamsey ase. We must be frank. No
company can stop galamsey, not even government. We must be frank. All what the government is doing can stop galamsey. They help those who are backed by the law and make it look like smuggling, because even when there was no law, they did it. The law only legalized small-scale mining and transaction with the diamond market. Before the law, we didn't know who purchased the gold, but now the law allows the transaction with the diamond market, regulation of what the gold is used for. My problem is that the law didn't state that when one mines land, the person can claim it. For example, a company like Golden Star cannot claim the land they mine, not even the government. The worst the soldiers can do is to sell the land. Now the land they work on is huge. So if miners are sacked from plot A, they move to plot B, and vice versa. Therefore, what do we think we are doing?
Into Pamo A, now Basinko B, ne A for started. No as I could be, no Pamo, ne B phones are started. Into a consumer a contempt.
For me, it's the failure of the system to support the police with logistical support, financial support, in order to curb this particular menace. But if we leave the police out, we will never succeed. Because they are so crucial to the fight against illegality, because they are on the ground. We have the district officers, we have the regional police commanders, the district police commanders, we have the divisional commanders. You understand what I'm trying to say? And we have a network of police who inherently have shortage of staff. And we know that the head one policeman per head within a particular area is very minimal in this country. Therefore, sometimes the UN
standard is 1 policeman to 500
people. We don't have that in this particular area. So yes, the system that the police face, and sometimes when we report the cases, we have to provide police with transport. And that can also be termed as trying to influence police.
As to whether the Minister Peter Amewu should resign following the recent death in Nsuta Pristia,
I think Amewu has done well. But he has failed, in the area of legal miners and trying to, demonize small-scale mining. I have been in small-scale mining as far back as 1987. And I don't know where Peter Mewu was in 1987 and how, the law has amended up until now. Yes, it was chisel and hammers. Technology has come. It has improved. It has gone to a certain particular stage. You understand what I'm trying to say? Ghana has a resource. And this resource can create employment, can create industry, and so on and so forth. We need to look at how we can tap the resources that we have in a positive manner. So you understand what I'm trying to say?
Peter Mewu must be allowed to stay on.
Yes, I think he must be allowed to stay on because if you listen to the way the guy speaks, he has a passion. One thing, he has the enthusiasm and he has the passion. And for anyone to succeed, you need to have these two qualities. And I think he has them. The only thing is that he needs to take his time to listen to advice and do what is right.
5 Chinese and 5 Ghanaians are currently standing trial at the Sekondi High Court for illegal mining on the Ankobra River. And many have described this as a case study on the fight against Galamsey. For Joy News, Francis Waja, Takrady.
The President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has meanwhile put his presidency on the line with a commitment to end illegal small-scale mining, popularly called Galamsey in Ghana. Rallying Ghana's traditional leaders together, the President said if there is one right thing to be done, it will be for all to fight Galamsey, reclaim the lands and leave for posterity a green country and a clean space. He was addressing a forum against illegal mining organized to get Ghana's chiefs involved in the fight against illegal mining.
We have a duty to preserve it for those who are coming after us. And if our river bodies are drying up, our landscape is being desecrated, we here, leaders of our society, leaders of our nation, political leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, we have a responsibility to say no. This, we can't allow it to go on for our own common survival and the survival of those who are to come. And all kinds of people from all aspects of our national life are involved in this exercise. Security personnel, political leaders, businessmen, and dare say it, nananum. Some are all involved in this. When you know that the activities that they're involved in are jeopardizing the very survival of our nation, I took the decision that that would be a betrayal of the trust that the Ghanaian people put in me on the 7th of January this year. And as a result, we established this committee within the government to design a policy for us, not just to stop it, to reclaim the land, to let our rivers work again, but also to see how we can figure a way for all these able-bodied young men who are involved in this activity to find an alternative livelihood. So it's a package. It's a package that we have designed to try and bring this menace to a conclusion. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
Now, the heavy use of excavators for illegal mining has prompted the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology to consider tagging every excavator in the country to track its usage. Sector Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng announced the initiative at the conference.
We have come to the agreement that going forward, we cannot ban excavators into the country because some of them are used for road construction and other things. So what we are going to do is to tag all the excavators at the harbor. If it's going to road construction, it will be tagged as such. If that excavator is found and Minister Mewu has the plans, it will be tagged. If a machine is tagged for road construction, and then we see through the GPS. Now we have a lot of technical things that we can see. If we know that the thing is meant for road construction in Oseko-Jokrom, and then through our system, we see that this machine is in dangerous Galamsey area. So if a machine is known to be officially be doing construction of Oseko-Jokrom, and we find that machine in Mason Kwanta, then we know that it's not supposed to be there. So these are some of the measures that we are going to take going forward.
Now, staff of the Pantang Hospital here in Accra have defied all efforts to get them to back down on a sit-down strike over the encroachment of the hospital's lands. The staff would not budge, despite several pleas by the chief executive of the Mental Health Authority vowing to step up the action if nothing is done immediately about the encroachment. Not even the sight of desperate patients in need of critical care will get the striking staff to back down. Now, Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was at the Pantang Hospital and has come through with this report.
A mentally unstable patient here at the outpatient department of the Pantang Psychiatric Hospital. On the compound, another patient is engaged in an altercation with his family members who have brought him to the facility for medical attention. All these are playing out before the eyes of the very people who are supposed to take care of them, but they seem unconcerned. This 70-year-old man brought her daughter from Hohoe for medical attention, but the nurses would not attend to her.
Almost 5 years. That's on 3rd July 2012. We reached here before our former president died, Atamlis died. So he was here up to 6 months, and she was discharged. We went home. Everything went right. But almost since about last year, things begin again. So I came here on the July last year. They asked me to go and prepare and come. This is the time that I've prepared. Then I brought here today. Before reaching the gate here, I said I was on strike. So I can't do anything. So I come for a division, but how they said that I was on strike.
He was compelled to leave the premises of the hospital without any medical assistance. He later left with her daughter in this police vehicle. This woman has also been left to her fate. She says her daughter has been hallucinating since dawn.
8. Me do 8. Me jina wasa, me tuna wasa, me ni kade. No mo ba ya na me ba ko turo card na wase wo mo nya agema. Na me na adukura mbeya. Wo mo nya agema de mbeya ndai. Me ba kura andro wanda. Wo susa wo kutu kasa sa wanda. Nti me sra wo mo nchira ma aduro bia mo nko drone store ko to akoma no. Se me ntumi nkasa nko to aduro. Me ni ma aduro kura mbeto ama no. Nti me pa mo cho bebere. Me sra wo mo enya sa me ba no wanda. Wo china me fani me ntumi fani nko fie bio. Me sra mo me pa mo cho bebere. Mo nchira ma aduro ya me nko to ama no. Na no ho ntano. Nra wanda me pa mo cho bebere.
She says she's been here since 8 a.m. In the morning, and then they gave her an outpatient card. But later on, the one who's in charge came around and told them that they cannot attend to the patients that you've brought to the hospital because they are not working today. She says her daughter has been hallucinating since dawn, so she came here with the hope of getting some medication to alleviate her current situation, but it looks like that is not going to work now. She is saying that she's begging for the nurses here to prescribe a medication for her, medicine for her that she can get from a pharmacy. After persistent attempts to get help but to no avail, she would also leave with her daughter in the company of others. The Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Kwesi, was forced to move into the facility for an emergency meeting with the staff of the hospital. But after several appeals, the workers said they are not ready to compromise on their stance. He later toured the encroached lands and described the situation as horrible.
Well, it's horrible. We should protect the land. We may need to, this building, if I had my way, it needs to be pulled out. It needs to be pulled down.
The staff and management of Pantana are committed to working with the Super Morning Show team to find a lasting solution to the matter. Meanwhile, in an interview with Kojo Youngson, the host of the show, the director of the hospital, Frank Bainid, stated the Bureau of National Investigation is investigating him because some people have written anonymous letters alleging he sold off portions of the land to the encroachers.
They think probably either I'm not concerned, either I'm part of those selling the land, to the extent that anonymous letters have been written to the BNI. And as I speak with you, I've been interrogated by the BNI in their offices. A whole lot of allegations.
That you are selling the land?
Yes. I'm aiding in selling the land.
So how did those investigations conclude? Or
well, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. At least I've responded to their, I was at their interview, I've written a statement, you know. So, and my big bother was, so how come the National Secretary didn't contact the Minister of Health to come in here and take an audit of what is happening here? Okay, so me, the same person who anonymous letters have been written and being integrated, including the land issue, have to go back to them.
The staff?
Yes, to tell them that go back to work. Wouldn't you sort of affirm the position that, yes, indeed, he doesn't want us to get our land back?
So because of that, you've not asked them to go back to work?
Oh, we have. We've had a meeting. I mean, on Friday, when I got to know of it, I had chats with them.
Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Despite repeated assurances by government that the fall armyworm invasion is under control, the pests continue to attack farm fields in various parts of the country. Currently, an estimated 25,000 hectares of farm fields have been infected, up from only about 1,400 hectares as at April this year. Farmers have made huge losses as a result of this. That is the focus of our latest hotline documentary, Rampaging Soldiers. Here are excerpts of that documentary by Joseph Opoku-Gapo.
All 10 regions of the country have recorded incidents of fall armyworm invasion. I took a tour of some affected areas. Let's begin in the central region, where more than 1,500 hectares of farmlands have been destroyed. In the Asin South district alone, the farms of about 250 farmers growing about 4,000 acres of farmlands have been destroyed. District Chief Executive Derek Owusu-Ambrose says the invasion is getting out of hand.
I don't know whether maybe there have been some sort of resistance to the chemicals that we are using at the moment. The farmers will be spraying, but day in, day out, you see reinfestation. The ones that we sprayed, you see the worms reinfesting that same farm. I don't know whether maybe it has got to do with the eggs. It could be that maybe the eggs, the chemicals do attack the worms, leaving the eggs. So the new eggs hatch and there's reinfestation. So I think we need to do more research about this kind of infestation. The worms look simpler, but the rate at which they destroy it and the mechanism at which they attack the farms, I think there's a sort of resistance that we have to have a second look at.
The Asin Insuta Senior High School owns a 14-acre maize farm. They are hoping to feed the students from this field, but the armyworms will not allow that.
Now we've spent almost 400 Ghana cedis on controlling them, outside what the government has given us.
What do you envisage will be the consequence if the whole thing is not really brought under control in terms of the devastation on the fields?
Yeah, I think that will affect our food production rate, and it means we will not be in a position to have enough to feed the students. The repayment of the loan or the input that we had from the government will be a problem.
Kofi Jamra is one of the farmers whose fields have been destroyed. He laments repeated application of recommended chemicals have not helped stem the destruction of his 2-acre cornfield on which he invested more than 4,000 cedis.
I've been farming for 13 years now, but this year, something they call fall army worm invaded our farms.
13 times from the infancy. Third farm.
I've applied chemicals on about 13 different occasions, but still, I've really suffered. They have destroyed 3 of my farms totally.
2.5 acres. Omari is condemned.
That's it for the bulletin. My name is Zulai. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.